A phone buzzes with a notification. Direct deposit has hit. A close-up of a banking app showing a large deposit amount. Stack of bills appears. Rent, student loans, credit card statement. Nick sits at a table Saturday morning, sorting through bills. Nick pays the rent bill, looking frustrated as he notices the amount has increased. Nick pays the student loan bill, sighing. Nick pays the car note, glancing at the remaining balance. Nick reviews his credit card statement, seeing charges for groceries and everyday expenses. Nick stares at his bank account balance, $42.50 left. Nick looks confused and anxious, thinking to himself, I make $100,000 a year. Why do I feel broke? Nick sits back, overwhelmed, questioning his financial situation. Nick reassures viewers, you aren't crazy. The game has fundamentally changed. Nick leans in, upbeat music starts. Nick introduces himself. My name is Nick. I spend way too much time thinking about how our brains play tricks on our wallets. Nick encourages viewers to subscribe and like the video. Nick announces the video topic, breaking down where $100,000 goes in 2025, lifestyle creep and how to fix it. Nick turns to his computer, ready to start the breakdown. Nick opens a blank spreadsheet on his computer. Nick types in gross income, $100,000 on the spreadsheet. Nick explains the gold standard of the American dream. Text appears, purchasing power parity. Nick references Bureau of Labor Statistics and CPI inflation calculator. Nick shows that $100,000 in 2025 is worth much less than in 2019. Nick calculates that you need $124,000 today to match $100,000 in 2019. Nick calculates that you need nearly $190,000 today to match $100,000. In 2000, Nick points out that your money is worth about 20% less than you think. Nick prepares to break down the actual paycheck. Nick types federal tax, $15,000 into the spreadsheet. Nick types FICA, Social Security and Medicare, $7,650 into the spreadsheet. Nick types state tax, $4,000 into the spreadsheet. Numbers subtract rapidly on the spreadsheet. Nick adds 401k contribution, $6,000 to the spreadsheet. Nick adds health insurance premiums, $1,800 to the spreadsheet. Nick summarizes, $34,450 is gone before you see your money. A big red number appears. Net pay, $65,550. Nick divides net pay by 12 months, $5,462 per month. Nick discusses whether $5,400 a month is enough to live on. Nick holds up 3 fingers, introducing the big 3 expenses. Nick lists housing, $2,200 for a 1-bedroom apartment. Nick subtracts housing from the budget, showing $3,262 left. Nick lists transportation, $550 car payment, $150 insurance, $150 gas. Nick subtracts transportation costs, $850 a month, $2,412 left. Nick lists student loans, $400 a month. Nick subtracts student loans, $2,012 left. Nick pauses, looking at the camera with raised eyebrows. Nick points out that basic living expenses haven't been covered yet. Nick adds groceries, $600 a month. Nick adds utilities, internet, phone, $300 a month. Nick adds subscriptions, $150 a month. Adds household goods, personal care, $100 a month. Nick subtracts these expenses, showing $862 left for the month. Nick leans back, sighing at the small remaining balance. Nick calculates $215 per week left for everything else. Nick lists what $215 week must cover: clothing, car repairs, gifts, going out, travel, medical copays. Nick imagines unexpected expenses: a flat tire, a wedding invitation, a toothache. Nick shows how quickly the remaining money disappears. Nick looks directly at the camera, explaining why viewers feel broke. It concludes, you are living on a razor's edge, but wearing a 6-figure disguise. Nick stands in front of a whiteboard, looking frustrated as he gestures to numbers and charts. A graphic appears showing the term Henrys, high earners, not rich yet. Nick explains the concept of Henrys, emphasizing the psychological pain involved. A split screen shows a young person making $40,000, surrounded by other college grads eating pizza on the floor. Visual of cheap IKEA furniture being treated as a luxury item by a group of friends. A timeline transitions to someone earning $100,000, now surrounded by a new peer group. Instagram feeds flash by, showing friends buying homes, driving Teslas, and vacationing in Tulum. Close-up of Instagram stories and posts highlighting luxury lifestyles. Nick points out how seeing peers' successes online triggers feelings of inadequacy. A label appears, relative deprivation. Nick introduces the Diderot Effect with a historical illustration of Denis Diderot. Diderot receives a beautiful scarlet robe and admires it. Diderot notices his old rug looks shabby next to the new robe. Diderot replaces the rug with a more expensive one. Diderot then sees his chair looks out of place and replaces it. Diderot replaces his desk, continuing the cycle. A visual shows Diderot surrounded by new, expensive items, looking worried about his finances. Nick draws a parallel. In 2025, your $100,000 salary is the scarlet robe. A young professional looks at their paycheck, thinking they should upgrade their life. The professional tours a luxury apartment and signs a lease for $2,600 a month. They move into the new apartment, surrounded by upscale amenities. Professional looks at their old 2012 Honda Civic, feeling embarrassed. They visit a car dealership and lease a new Audi for $700 a month. The professional drives the Audi, feeling proud but also anxious. Nick uses a red marker to circle remaining $862 on a whiteboard full of expenses. A montage of people obsessing over small purchases like $5 lattes. A contrasting montage shows people signing expensive leases and car payments without hesitation. A visual representation of lifestyle creep as a graph rising over time. People look at their offer letters, feeling entitled to a higher standard of living. A graphic shows inflation eating away at the value of the salary. A title card. Part 3. The Silent Killers of 2025. Nick sits back down. The lighting dims to signal a more serious tone. Nick addresses viewers who still feel broke despite living frugally. A visual of invisible drains. Money leaking out of a bank account. A graphic introduces the subscription economy. Montage of various subscriptions: Netflix, software, cloud storage, gym, meal kits. A credit card statement shows dozens of small charges like $12.99 and $45. A person looks at their budget, shocked by $400 a month in subscriptions. A graphic introduces convenience culture. A stressed professional at a computer ordering DoorDash for lunch. DoorDash order total jumps from $15 to $32 after fees and tip. A cleaning service arrives at an apartment while the resident works late. Groceries are delivered by Instacart while the resident scrolls on their phone. A pie chart shows a 40% premium paid for convenience. A graphic introduces the housing market lockout. A person looks at home listings online, is discouraged by high prices and interest rates. A comparison shows rent versus mortgage payments, with mortgage much higher. A person signs another rental lease, feeling stuck. The renter feels unsettled, looking at packed suitcases and travel brochures. A montage of spending on travel and experiences to fill the emotional void. A cycle animation shows. CIN afford a house gives spend on lifestyle upgrades gives still CIN afford a house. Professional buys a luxury watch, trying to feel better. Nick concludes, looking directly at the camera as the cycle continues in the background. Nick sits at his desk, addressing the audience with a confident smile. Nick gestures to emphasize that he's not here to spread negativity. Nick leans forward, promising to reveal how to hack the system. A graphic appears showing a person making $100,000 but feeling broke. Nick explains that the issue is cash flow, not income. A visual of a leaking wallet illustrates the cash flow problem. Nick reassures viewers that cash flow problems are fixable. Bold title appears. 3-step plan to stop feeling poor. Step 1 is introduced. Reverse budget, the 75% rule. Nick dismisses traditional budgeting methods with a playful gesture. Pie chart appears, showing 75% for living expenses and 25% for savings debt. Example numbers pop up. $5,400 take home, $4,050 living costs, $1,350 savings. A worried viewer exclaims, "But Nick, I can't cut $1,300. Nick responds confidently, saying big changes are needed. Visual of a person packing boxes, preparing to move. A moving truck drives away, symbolizing relocating to save on rent. 2 roommates shake hands, representing sharing housing costs. Person hands over car keys, selling their expensive car. A simple, older car is purchased with cash. A warning siren graphic flashes on screen. Nick advises pausing 401k contributions for those with high-interest debt. A credit card statement with a large balance appears. Calendar marks 6 months for pausing retirement savings. Step 2 is introduced. Fight the Diderot Effect with the 24-hour rule. A shopper hesitates before buying something over $50. A clock ticks down 24 hours for purchases over $50. A calendar marks 3 days for purchases over $100. A calendar marks 30 days for purchases over $500. A montage of forgotten shopping carts and abandoned wish lists. A person looks surprised at how many items they no longer want. Step 3 is introduced. Define rich for yourself. A split screen shows a flashy BMW on one side and a bank account with $20,000 on the other. A person scrolls through Instagram looking dissatisfied. Nick explains that money is freedom vouchers. A visual of a person trading cash for a car, looking conflicted. A person deposits money into savings, feeling empowered. Nick looks intense, driving home his message. Nick says, "Savings equals freedom," with bold text on screen. A person smiles as they watch their savings grow. Nick explains that saving is buying your life back. Part 5. Conclusion appears on screen. Nick is back at his desk, holding a mug. The atmosphere is warm. Nick acknowledges the psychological challenges of earning $100,000 in 2025. A visual of a person juggling expectations and bills. Nick empathizes with viewers feeling frustrated. A graphic shows the system designed to separate people from their money. Nick presents 2 choices: keep playing the status game, or adjust and build wealth. A shadowy figure quietly accumulates wealth in the background. Nick points to the side of the screen, inviting viewers to another video. A thumbnail appears for Nick's budget spreadsheet walkthrough. Nick gives a final encouraging message: "You can do this." Nick waves goodbye, ending the video.